Hello students, we are back with the online class and today we are going to start a new chapter from the organic chemistry, and that is aldehyde and ketone. I am directly starting with this chapter because this is the most important chapter for our board exam. After we finish this chapter, we will be doing the alkyl and aryl halide and alcohol and phenol gradually. As this is the most important one, I am directly starting with this chapter. So, in this aldehyde and ketone chapter, we will discuss about the basic nature of the aldehyde and ketone, how they are prepared, the preparation of aldehyde and ketone, and along with those, we will discuss about the chemical and the physical properties of aldehyde and ketone. So, before I start the preparation, I want to discuss the general structure of an aldehyde and ketone. As we know that in an aldehyde from childhood only, we are class 10 only we are reading that the functional group of an aldehyde is CHO, that is C double bond OH. So these three is the basic functional group of an aldehyde, and along with this functional group we have one alkyl group denoted by R attached to it. And for an ketone, the functional group is CO. C double bond O is the functional group, and along with the C double bond, only this much is the functional group. Along with this functional group, on both the sides, two different alkyl groups or two same alkyl groups have to be attached, denoted by R and R dashed. R and R dashed may be same or may be different. So the basic difference between aldehyde and ketone is that here with the carbonyl carbon, one hydrogen must be attached for an aldehyde, and for an ketone both the hands will be an alkyl group. Now if we go to the bonding of this C double bond O, we can see that the carbon and the oxygen forms a sigma bond by head on overlap with two sigma bonds with the carbon, and then the unfilled orbital of carbon and oxygen undergoes side on overlap, producing a pi bond. So according to the molecular orbital theory, the carbonyl carbon in an aldehyde and ketone is generally sp2 hybridized. So the structure is planar with an angle of 120 degree. With an angle of 120 degree, forming three sigma bonds and one pi bond for the carbon atom, where the pi bond is formed by a sidewise overlap of the partially filled p orbital of oxygen and the carbon atom. So generally what is here, the two electron clouds became to different shape because of my poor drawing, ignore it. Here the carbon is making three sigma bonds and an planar structure with oxygen. Due to this pi bond, we get a pi electron cloud above and below this sigma bond. So again we can see that there's a huge electronegativity difference between the carbon atom and the oxygen atom. Hence we get the charge separation here. This C double bond O is highly polarized due to this high electronegativity difference between the oxygen and the carbon atoms, and hence you see there's a plus charge accumulated over the carbon atom. Here the carbon atom can act as an electrophile, positively charged center, and the oxygen atom becomes a nucleophile because the accumulation of negative charge over it. Hence due to this, the C double bond O, the carbonyl compound bond, is becoming polar in nature. One more point I want to add, generally in alkene we have a C double bond C. Alkene has this structure C double bond C, and the carbonyl carbon has the structure C double bond O. So between these two there are many similarities, like both are planar in nature, both the angle will be 120 degree, both of the carbon atom is sp2 hybridized, and both of them will undergo addition reaction. Apart from this, the some difference between these two type of bonds are that here the carbonyl compound is polar in nature while this is a non-polar, because no electronegativity difference is there, and here a huge electronegativity difference is there. Now as here we know that this C double bond C will undergo electrophilic addition reaction, but here C double bond O along with electrophilic addition reaction, it will undergo nucleophilic addition reaction, where the carbon atom here we can see becomes a positive charge center. So any of the nucleophile can come and attack here, and this compound can go, nucleophilic addition reaction, where here it is not possible. For C double bond C only electrophilic addition reaction occurs. Moreover, there's a difference between the bond length between C double bond C and C double bond O. and apart from this, some difference in isomerism may seen. Otherwise, there is no such difference between these two. The main difference is that the electrophilic nature of the carbon atom here, due to which it undergoes the nucleophilic addition reaction, which is not possible for the C double bond C structure. Next, we will come to the topic preparation of aldehyde and ketone, and it can be done by several methods, and we will start with the method oxidation of alcohol. Generally, alcohol can be oxidized by an oxidizing agent like K2Cr2O7 in presence of sulfuric acid, that is acidified potassium dichromate, and it will give us aldehyde. But generally, by this method of oxidation, the oxidation cannot be stopped at the production of aldehyde, and it is generally further oxidized by giving us an carboxylic acid. So generally in this method we don't get the aldehyde in a good yield, and we use different types of oxidizing agents which can give us the aldehyde only. So generally, to check the oxidation of alcohol to acid, we can use Collins reagent or we can use PCC, pyridinium chlorochromate. So these two oxidizing agents are very important and they very easily oxidizes alcohol to aldehyde only, and we don't get the further acid in these cases. Where the Collins reagent is a chemically combined chromium trioxide pyridine complex, where we take 1 mole chromium trioxide, 2 mole of pyridine in CH2Cl2 solution. And we can also use PCC, pyridinium chlorochromate, where there contains 1 mole of chromium trioxide, 1 mole of HCl and 1 mole of pyridine in CH2Cl2 dichloromethane solvent. So these two oxidizing agents are very important. Why? Because suppose in some conversions, after reading the total organic chemistry, when we will do different type of conversions, there whenever we have to do the oxidation from alcohol to aldehyde only, that is we have to stop the oxidation in the aldehyde state, always we have to use the oxidizing agent PCC or Collins reagent in CH2Cl2 instead of using the normal oxidizing agent like K2Cr2O7, KMNO4, etc. Next, how to get ketone by oxidation from alcohol? Generally, primary alcohols are giving aldehyde, and if we take secondary alcohols, we will get ketone. So this is a secondary alcohol where both these hands are containing alkyl groups, and if we oxidize a secondary alcohol by normal oxidizing agent, we get the ketone. Next comes Opperner oxidation. This is not in the syllabus, but still I am discussing. It's a reversible reaction between a secondary alcohol and acetone in presence of aluminium isopropoxide, or we can use aluminium tertiary butoxide, where this secondary alcohol is getting oxidized to the ketone and the acetone is getting reduced to the primary alcohol. Here the Opperner oxidation merit is that even suppose a compound is containing double bond as well as OH group, then it will not oxidize the double bond and it will only oxidize the OH group into the aldehyde. That is, suppose one reaction we are doing like this, where there's a OH group and along with it there's a double bond. Then if we do the oxidation by using this reagent, then the alcohol group, that is OH, will be converted to the ketonic group, only oxidized, and there will be no effect on the double bond. So this is the merit of Opperner oxidation, which selectively oxidizes only a hydroxyl group even in the presence of carbon-carbon double bond. I want to repeat one thing in this process, Opperner oxidation. Here the oxidation reaction is taking place in such a way where this alcohol is getting oxidized to ketone and the acetone is getting reduced to a isopropyl alcohol. It's an isopropyl alcohol to which it is getting reduced. Next, I will come to the method of the reaction, that is preparation of aldehyde and ketone from alkene. It's a very important one, and this process we have already done in class 11, ozonolysis of alkene, from which we are getting aldehyde and ketone. The process which we read in class 11 under the topic reaction of alkene. Now we will read here under the topic preparation of aldehyde and ketone. So we already everyone know these reactions, because in class 11 I have discussed this method several times, and I also told that it's a very important reaction. So I am not going in a detailed study of ozonolysis, and I am just repeating the thing as whenever we are taking an alkene, whatever may be the hands present here, whenever we treat here with ozone, first we get a ozonide, and then if we distill it with zinc in presence of water, what happens? This double bond breaks down and it comes two oxygen or two carbonyl compounds are produced. So depending upon the groups present here, we get the aldehyde and ketone. Suppose here the two groups are one hydrogen and one methyl, and here both the groups are methyl. Then if we do ozonolysis of this compound followed by hydrolysis with zinc water, then what we get? One aldehyde, because here with carbon one hand is hydrogen, so the functional group becomes CHO and it's an aldehyde, and another, as both the groups are CH3, we get a ketone. So if with the carbon one hand is hydrogen to one side, then we will get the aldehyde, and if both the hands are an alkyl group, then we will get a ketone. So by ozonolysis of an alkene followed by the hydrolysis with zinc dust and water, we can get the aldehyde and ketone. Here we can see that in the reaction, it will be H2O2. In the reaction, hydrogen peroxide is formed, which is easily removed by the zinc dust that we are using, and hence it will stop the further oxidation of the carbonyl compounds formed into the acid. Next, aldehyde and ketone can be prepared from acid chloride. If aldehyde is prepared from acid chloride, it is known as Rosenmund's reduction, which is very important for our board examination, and by this method ketones cannot be obtained. So ketone is obtained from acid chloride by reacting it with dialkyl cadmium. So at first let us come to the Rosenmund's reduction. Here you see why it is known as reduction, because here the acid chloride is reduced to aldehyde with the use of hydrogen in the presence of palladium catalyst supported over barium sulfate. Now after the production of an aldehyde, to check the further reduction, the catalytic mixture is poisoned by using a small amount of sulfur or quinoline. So here acid chloride RCOCl is reduced using hydrogen by palladium catalyst in presence of barium sulfate to get the aldehyde. Now by this method formaldehyde cannot be prepared. Why? Because the corresponding acid chloride from which we have to prepare formaldehyde, that is formyl chloride, is very much unstable at room temperature, and ketones can also not be prepared by this method. So in this case, why ketones cannot be prepared? Because you see RCOCl, so with C double bond O, one Cl is there, and that is reduced by hydrogen, and we cannot bring here a alkyl group. So ketone cannot be prepared by this method. Ketone is prepared by reacting acid chloride with dialkyl cadmium. Dimethyl cadmium is used here in presence of dry ether, by which we can get easily the ketone. Here one more thing I want to add, that is the dialkyl cadmium which is required in this reaction is prepared by the reaction of cadmium chloride with Grignard reagent, that is RMgX when treated with cadmium chloride CdCl2, it gives us the cadmium chloride R2CD plus it produces MgXCl. We have to balance it obviously. Now Grignard reagent is not used directly in the place of the dialkyl cadmium because Grignard reagent will further react with the ketone formed to produce an alcohol. So in this way we prepare ketone from acid chloride by the use of this dialkyl cadmium, which is further prepared by treating cadmium chloride with a Grignard reagent. Next we will come to the method from where we will get aldehyde and ketone from alkyne. When alkyne are generally hydrated in the presence of dilute H2SO4 and HgSO4 is present as the catalyst, then we get the carbonyl compounds. Generally what happens in this method, one water molecule gets added to the alkyne where the addition takes place according to the Markovnikov's rule. Markovnikov's rule means the hydrogen of the water will get added to that carbon atom which contains more number of hydrogen atom, and the OH group of the water will get added to that carbon atom which contains less number of hydrogen atom. By this method we get an enol. Enol means one en and one ol is there in the compound, but this enol is very unstable and due to this it undergoes ketoenol tautomerism to give us the more stable keto form from where we get the aldehyde and ketone. Here we are generally obtaining an acetone where we are treating propyne with HgSO4 and dilute H2SO4. One water molecule is getting added according to Markovnikov's rule, which on rearrangement gives us the acetone. Same thing we will get acetaldehyde when we will treat ethine, actually acetylene or ethine, by dilute H2SO4 or HgSO4, and then we will get the acetaldehyde, but by this method formaldehyde cannot be prepared. Next method is that we can get aldehyde and ketone by distilling calcium salts of the acid. If we distill the calcium salts of the acid, we generally get the aldehyde. How? Here you see we have taken calcium formate. So here this is a formic acid, HC double bond OH, that is a formic acid, HCOOH, and we have taken a calcium salt of the formic acid. And if we distill this salt, what we will get? Under distillation, the temperature is 675 Kelvin, we will get COCO3, one molecules of CaCO3 will move out with the formation of HCHO. And what is this? This is a formaldehyde. So how this CaCO3 will move out? So let us take from here and from here. So this molecule is preparing this one HCHO and the remaining part is the CaCO3. So in this way by distillation we get the aldehyde and ketone. Again let me distill calcium acetate. Similarly, if we distill calcium acetate, then what we will get? Let us see. So similarly, if we separate out CaCO3, this time let me separate out CaCO3. So this is our CaCO3. So on distillation of calcium acetate at 675 Kelvin, we get the CaCO3 and plus what is remaining here? Acetone, CH3 C double bond O CH3. So on distillation we get here CaCO3 and the remaining part gives us the acetone. So in this way, by distilling the calcium salts of the carboxylic acid, we generally get the aldehyde and ketone. Now if we want to obtain mixed ketone, then the preparation of the method is done, but the yield of the product becomes very poor because a number of other products may also be obtained. Like suppose I am doing the reaction of calcium formate and calcium acetate together. I repeat, I am doing the reaction between calcium formate and calcium acetate together. Then we get a mixed ketone, that is acetaldehyde. In one side there is a CH3 and the other side there is a H. But the problem is that when we are doing the reaction, in the reaction medium, only calcium formate and only calcium acetate is not present. There are a large molecules of calcium formate and the large molecules of calcium acetate present. So reaction between two calcium formate and the reaction between two calcium acetate may also occur, and we will get a mixture of formaldehyde, acetone and acetaldehyde. So generally it's better to use only one salt and do the distillation, and we will get then only one product. Otherwise, if we take a mixture of the two salts, then we will get a mixture of product. The above said method can also be used in the preparation of cyclic ketone, like suppose we have taken such a calcium salt like this. So suppose we have taken a cyclic calcium salt, and what is it? It is calcium adipate. This is calcium adipate. Now if we distill this calcium salt, what we will get? We just get a joint portion here. With the elimination of CaCO3, what we get? We get cyclopentanone. Plus CaCO3. So with elimination of CaCO3, that is this one, elimination of a CaCO3, the remaining part produces cyclohexanone. So the above said method, that is distilling calcium salt of carboxylic acid, can also give us sometimes cyclic ketones. Next in the syllabus, it's there that how can we prepare carbonyl compound from nitriles, and what is nitrile? Another name of the cyanide, CN. So we can prepare it if we reduce the nitrile or the cyanide with stannous chloride SnCl2 and hydrochloric acid in absolute ether. We get an imine where 2 H molecule is added to one carbon atom and another to the nitrogen atom, and we get an imine which on hydrolysis gives us the aldehyde with evolution of the ammonia gas. This method is known as Stephen's reduction, another name reaction in our syllabus. Apart from this, generally RCN, cyanide or nitrile, if treated with diisobutyl aluminium hydride, diisobutyl aluminium hydride, the short form is written as in this way, dibal H, then followed by the hydrolysis. So this is our first reagent, and number 2 is water, followed by hydrolysis, then we get the aldehyde from the nitrile. So we can also use in selective reduction. Suppose we have taken a compound CH3CH. Suppose we have taken a compound CH3 double bond CH3CH double bond CH bond CH2 CH2 CN. Now we are reducing it with this dibal H, and then number 2 we are hydrolyzing it. Then what we will get? The double bond will be remaining intact, and this reducing agent will have no effect on it, and directly we will get the aldehyde from here. So this is an important of this reagent, where we can use it to reduce the CN group to the CHO, and there will be no effect done on the double bond. Ester, generally ester again, if they are treated with this dibal H reagent, they also get reduced to aldehyde easily. Suppose we have taken an ester CH3 CH2 CH2 C double bond O O C2H5. and we are treating this ester with dibyl H, and then we are hydrolyzing it. Then ester also get reduced to aldehyde. So here we can see that beside the C double bond O, this OC2H5 is getting replaced by an H, and thus in this method whatever product we will get, it's always an aldehyde. Ketone cannot be prepared by this method, that is ketone cannot be reduced or obtained from an ester when it is treated with dibyl H and then hydrolyzed. And again I am repeating the full form of this dibyl H reagent. It's diisobutyl aluminium hydride. The last method in our syllabus for the preparation of aldehyde and ketone is from Grignard reagent. How? Generally in the previous method we have prepared an aldehyde from a nitrile by Stephens reduction. Now if we want to prepare ketone from nitrile, we generally have to treat it with Grignard reagent followed by the hydrolysis. How? Suppose we have taken CH3 C triple bond N, a nitrile, and we have taken an Grignard reagent CH3MgBr. So in the presence of ether, if we made them to react, what we will get? We will get CH3 C double bond N MgBr, and here another bond CH3. So we get an addition compound. Now if we hydrolyze this product, obviously in presence of acid, acidic hydrolysis, then obviously what we will get? CH3C double bond O CH3, and we will get MgOH Br plus NH3. So this is the method by which an ketone can be obtained from a nitrile with the help of the Grignard reagent. So along with this, generally the method that just now we have studied is the best method for the preparation of carbonyl compound or ketone. And with this point I want to end today's online class, where I have completed all the possible preparation of aldehyde and ketone from different type of compounds given in our ISC syllabus. Next day we will continue with the physical and the chemical properties of aldehyde and ketone.